Here with you, and it's a real pleasure to have church in a pub. So as I experienced it and get to know everybody, I was hoping that I'd be hand on a bar with a pint in hand at this point, but there we are, disappointment all round. So a little thought for us as we come towards Christmas. What is it? 7 days to go, and we're all on countdown now. And during this Christmas, as it approaches, we will have many opportunities to hear the Christmas story, that very first Christmas story. And some of us have just come straight from All Saints Kesgrave, where we've had the Nativity enacted for us, with some strange adults dressing up, as well as the children, and having lots of fun. So I wonder, how many times do you think you've heard the story before? If I tell you that I'm probably in my 50th year of hearing the Christmas story, and if you add that up in your lives and your families, I wonder what the number will come to. How many nativities have you participated in? How many of you actually played one of the major parts? How many of you have been a key character? Worn a tea towel on your head? Dressing cord around it, or dressed in tinsel to signify that you're an angel. Just how many of us have ended up being a donkey or a star? So some of us might have been disappointed with our roles, and some of us may well have been Mary or Joseph. I'm going to invite you to do something a little bit different this morning and just have a chat amongst yourselves. So with your neighbour, with somebody near you, you don't have to know them, I wonder whether you might think or share about one particular nativity that you've been in. It could be that it was a disappointment, it could be that you had fun, it could be that you did something really embarrassing. So, just have a little chat amongst yourselves and share one thought about a nativity that you've either been in, or seeing in, or watching a particular nativity. Has anybody got a good story to tell? There we are.
I can still remember the first times that I had to say when I was the innkeeper's daughter in the nativity at Suffolk Lane Primary School, probably about 40 odd years ago. Never. And it was, there's an awful lot of people. It must be bursting at the seams.
Brilliant.
There you go.
I think she did that well. I mean, goodness, we could have you. Anybody else got a little story that they'd like to share? I'm coming over. No? Anybody got any words they fluffed, or round the back there? Would you like to take that?
My memory is of my father dressing up as a camel in the nativity at church, and my younger sister being baby Jesus because she was the right age at that point.
Oh, brilliant. How lovely. Super. What were you?
Oh, I can't. I might be a narrator.
Might be narrator. Narrator's an alright part. One more if you've got them. Oh, do we dare? Do we dare to get Anita's story? It's bound to be this. Come on. It's clean. Oh, well, that makes a change.
It's when I was in primary infant school. I should have been an angel.
Yeah. You always are an angel.
The day before the production, I had chicken pox.
Oh,
So she was a spotty angel.
a spotty angel. You couldn't do it.
She reckoned that was a sign.
But you know, I wonder what the sign meant. We'll talk about that later. Okay. So a little bit of fun there about our own activities. And I challenge you to add up in families how many years of nativities you've been to and see what it comes to. But we'll leave that for later. So, centering on the idea of the Christmas story, does it matter that we know the story inside out? That we've seen it or read it an umpteenth time? Maybe each time we can see something new, that God will show us something different in it. And so each time we come to the Christmas story, that's the time to seek something new. God is the author of it. We are part of retelling it. It takes each and every one of us to continue the retelling of the story through generation to generation, to learn about Jesus' birth, God's Son. We are going to help others to be able to pass that story on to one another in our time and other people's generations as it goes down. It gives it to us. It is a gift to us to have the story. to help us remember the truth of the Bible in our lives, in our world, and indeed in our struggles, which undoubtedly we have. Some of our children, grandchildren, neighbours will dress up, they'll stand on stage, they'll reenact that story for us. And there's something very special about that, isn't there? Something very magical about watching children take part, about them fluff their lines, go off script, shout out words to songs and carols, freeze with stage fright, or look gleefully back at us in the audience, looking at us with those wonderful smiles. That is a very special scene. And whilst there's the traditional story we now have, we also have, don't we, stories about other parts of the story. So the story of the star, the story of the donkey. So we might hear Mary's story. We might even hear the shepherd's story. We might hear the wise men's story. But what strikes me today is that there's actually one main character within that story that we hear so little about. And that's Joseph's story. We have the Posada with us today, and they travel round the parish from home to home. And at the moment that includes Mary, Joseph and the donkey. Quite naturally, he is part of the story. But even in our readings this morning, we've heard so very little about him. He frequently seems to be a hidden figure. He doesn't say much, he's quite often mute. He comes across as that quiet figure who travels along in the background, seems to get only a little bit involved, and is a surrogate father, unsure of his role. Having found himself in an unexpected and embarrassing position, of which it was at the time, he is desperately trying to do the right thing. And that is what we do here in the Bible stories, of Joseph trying to do the right thing in a difficult situation. There are only 2 of the 4 Gospels in the New Testament that actually tell us anything about the birth. And they are Luke and Matthew. Luke seems to capture it with lots of imagination. It's Luke who gives us the details. The angel's visitation to Mary, the trip to Elizabeth, and then the long journey to Bethlehem. He tells us that there's no room in the inn. He tells us that angels are singing to God and visiting shepherds. He tells us of a baby born into the poorest circumstances, and of a mother who is filled with awe and wonder. Where's Joseph? Joseph hardly gets a mention. Joseph hardly gets a mention in our churches, in our church liturgy, in the way that we tell the story in church. And even then, he can seem to be a silent figure. The Gospels readings that you've heard today, and on other days, barely mention him at all. There's no mention about what Joseph is thinking. Not about what he's doing whilst he waits for the child of his wife, her fiancée, her first child. It seems in parts that it's almost completely irrelevant. Our response to this could be one of indignation, and understandably, for here is a man bringing up a child not quite his own, but willingly and generously, who has become completely overshadowed by God and by the willingness of the woman to do God's will. This is a man who must play his part, and does so surely, in the upbringing of Jesus. But he's all but forgotten. He's all but forgotten in our Christmas preparations. It's only Matthew who recognises the part that Joseph plays. Matthew traces back Joseph's ancestry, if we look carefully at the beginning of his Gospel. He is the one who informs us that he finds out about his fiancée's pregnancy, and that an angel comes to him and chooses to stand by her rather than divorce her, as might be the case in those times.
No.
What would be the practical solution for Joseph in that day? And here is a man who's trying to do the right thing. I suspect that for many of us, Joseph might be more accessible actually than Mary. Down the generations of Christians, it's Mary who's been worshipped and adored, purified and venerated, and Joseph is in the background. Mary is the uneducated Palestinian girl, poor, probably nothing in society. She has become the saint of all saints, and Joseph remains in the background. And whilst it's essential that we do ponder on Mary as an example to us about responding to God, it might seem more likely that it's Joseph that we could take a good look at. A normal man doing a normal job, a man finding himself struggling with awkward family problems, a man who's caught up in events, who is making and trying to make good decisions. He's trying to do the right thing in everything that seems confusing. We don't know whether or not Joseph was particularly spiritual, though of course, as we heard, he had an angel visit him. God came to speak to him. But he is a man who's trying to do the right thing, make the right decision, and stand by the woman he's engaged to. Despite scandal, he's trying to do the right thing. Let us today not underestimate the enormity and the courage of Joseph's decision within this story. Who knows what went through his head in those early months, those years to come. It is not easy or comfortable to do the right thing. The miracle of Joseph's situation is not actually that he heard the voice of God, but he acted upon it. And he continued to faithfully act upon it, week by week, year by year, as he watched his not quite son grow up. So as we approach the time of celebrating God who came to be with us as a human being, what can we learn from Joseph and his story? He shows us that it's not enough that we acknowledge that we've heard God, or his son Jesus, or that we may have had a glimpse of him in his manger. But like Joseph, we are called to do something about it, to live differently somehow, because of what we know about Jesus. To do the right thing with this knowledge, our selfish instincts that often tell us to look out for number one. Our work for God and for our community and for the world is not always recognised. It's often hidden, just like Joseph. And in that respect, we are more like Joseph than we are Mary. What is good is not always glamorous, but as the Bible tells us, it is vital. Without Joseph, God's plan would not have been complete. Without any one of us, God's plan is not complete. Without us, our families, church and communities would all be poorer. We have a place in God's purpose in this world. May we, like Joseph, have the courage to make the right decision when times are difficult, to act upon it and to live that out. So with Jesus as an example, Joseph as an example, and Jesus by our side, let us go this Christmas and do the right thing.